If you've read the title and are part of the BTS army, I'm sure you already have several answers in mind. It's true, if you ask most army, including myself, they'll tell you it's BTS's music, message, social commentary, personalities, stunning performances, their relationship with their fans, and so on that make them love BTS. But I want to go a bit deeper than just listing off surface level reasons for why we love BTS. Because this is academic K-pop analysis, this video will use scholarly theories that can explain why we have such strong attachments to and feelings about BTS. These theories include affect, authenticity, and dramaturgy mixed in with some parasocial relationships. So, let's get explaining. Affect theory is a really important concept in a lot of disciplines, and because of that, there isn't one concrete definition of it. Different people use affect theory differently, but we are most interested in how fan/media studies scholars use affect. In simplest terms, affect is the thing that precedes our emotions about an object, what drives us to have emotional reactions to it in the first place. For example, if you look at a beautiful piece of art that makes you feel something, affect is the combination of circumstances leading up to creating that emotional reaction. For example, what was your mood that day? What was the lighting? Who were you with? How were you introduced to that art? And most importantly, what experiences have you had in your life among a million other factors? This affect, if strong enough, can also drive you to invest a piece of yourself in the art or motivate you to do something, like create fan art, fan fiction, memes, you name it. Here's a description of affect in the context of fan-artist relationships from fan studies scholar Lawrence Gosberg, who will be very relevant to us going forward. Affect is not the same as either emotions or desires. Affect is closely tied to what we describe as the feeling of life. You can understand another person's life, you can share the same meanings and pleasures, but you cannot know how it feels. But feeling, as it functions here, is not a subjective experience. It is a socially constructed domain of cultural effects. Some things feel different from others, some matter more or in different ways than others. The same experience will change drastically as our mood or feeling changes. The same object with the same meaning, giving the same pleasure, is very different as our affective relationship to it changes. Or perhaps it is more accurate to say that different affective relations inflict meanings and pleasures in very different ways. Affect is what gives color, tone, or texture to our experiences. From how I understand this passage, one simple way you can think of affect is as the vibes something has. Whether you vibe with something or not, that's one aspect of affect. Something might one day stop vibing with you as much, or you might start vibing with it even harder as your life and experiences change and grow. There are more aspects to affect than what I'm describing with vibes, but this is a very helpful way to try to start conceptualizing it. Another way to think of affect is as the X factor in our lives. It's always present, but difficult to articulate and colors our perceptions and experiences. And I've heard many ARMY describe BTS as having that X factor for them that they can't articulate, which would provide support for the idea that affect theory has something to do with why we love BTS. Gosberg goes on to say that the affective sensibility of audience-fan relationships provide a place where we can construct our own identity as something to be invested in, as something that matters. Maybe you can see how this would be relevant to answering the question of why we love BTS. Using Gosberg's idea of affective sensibility, being a fan of BTS gives us an identity we feel invested in because it matters to us, that identity being ARMY. Indeed, affect certainly plays a large role in why we love BTS so much. It's important to note, however, that people can have different levels of affective investment into BTS. Some might have placed much more of their identity into being an ARMY than others, thus making the person a much quote-unquote bigger fan than another. But what are some contributing factors that create such an intensive affective sensibility among ARMY? One study suggests that ARMY have formed identities with and around BTS based on affinities of lived experiences of hardship, mental health, and political, economic, and social uncertainty. Central to these various affinities is the shared feeling among ARMY that BTS is authentic, and that their songs, personalities, and messages don't feel fake or manufactured, and markedly different from the rest of the K-pop industry. One of the biggest reasons for this is the fact that BTS write their own music, which reinforces their authentic image and resonates not only with youth in Korea, but across the globe. And through this, BTS and their fans are able to communicate with each other, share the same struggles, and encourage each other to continue to love and hope for a better world. Relatedly, I made a video on BTS and cultural authenticity that you can watch up above or in the description. All of these factors definitely do play a role in creating that intense, effective sensibility among ARMY, but it goes deeper than just BTS's music. BTS as people also have this air of authenticity to them that really makes them vibe with their fans. To understand this, we are going to have to take a look at how ARMY primarily engages with BTS as people on social media. The authenticity I just talked about is important for creating the parasocial relationship between BTS and ARMY on social media. In case anybody doesn't know, I'll give a quick definition of parasocial relationships that I snagged from Wikipedia, but I promise, I've verified the information is accurate. A parasocial relationship causes the media user to develop illusions of intimacy, friendship, and identification. Positive information learned about the media persona results in increased attraction, and the relationship progresses. Parasocial relationships are enhanced due to the trust and self-disclosure provided by the media persona. Media users are loyal and feel directly connected to the persona, much as they are connected to their close friends, by observing and interpreting their appearance, gestures, voice, conversation, and conduct. Media personas have significant amount of influence over media users, positive or negative, informing the way that they perceive certain topics or even their purchasing habits. Sounds a lot like ARMY and BTS, right? Well, there's a very interesting paper written by Rebecca Chiyoko King Oriane that talks about online affect and authenticity among K-pop fans. She focuses on the Korean live streaming app VLive and how it produces these parasocial relationships that make idols feel authentic to their fans. I think most ARMY, including myself, would agree that it feels like BTS is, in general, pretty open and honest with their fans on social media to the extent that it's possible for one to be. Indeed, this is undoubtedly one of the core aspects behind both K-pop and BTS's success. But how do we as fans feel like we know that BTS is being authentic? In King Oriane's interviews with K-pop and BTS fans, she finds that one of the tactics for reassuring fans that the performance by idols is authentic is when fans look to cross-corroborate behavior, personality traits, and actions by comparing VLive performances with other digital media and real-life performances through a form of cross-platform corroboration. This gives rise to what I call corroborated authenticity in a world of consistent and repeated emotional streaming. King Oriane's concept of corroborated authenticity is a compelling one. I admit, I felt pretty called out when I first read the paper because I had the exact same thought process she's describing, particularly this next quote. Fans feel the everyday contact makes it more difficult for the idols to fake it, and the live presentation allows for lapses in the professionalism, which fans interpreted as glimpses into the real selves of the idols. Building up these runs of experiences viewed on digital media is how fans explained that they know the personalities of the idols and often discuss their biases, which band member they like the most, and how that choice was often based on the personality type of the idols themselves. I've definitely heard fans echoing this exact line of reasoning, and it's pretty compelling, right? It is important to take a step back every once in a while and realize we don't actually know these celebrities, no matter how much it feels like we do. I do want to pause here to say that I don't think the parasocial relationship between BTS and ARMY is inherently negative. Personally, BTS helped me feel like I had a community and friends during a time in my life when I felt extremely isolated and lonely. They helped me feel like I never walked alone until I was able to find friends IRL. That being said, I will get into the negative aspects of this parasocial relationship, such as how solo stans and manager armies happen, in the second part of this video, which I'll talk about more at the end. It's also important to note that these parasocial relationships aren't just limited to BTS and ARMY. It can also happen between fans. Think of the idea of having mutuals on Twitter who you've never actually met in real life, or a fans or translator that you follow closely on Twitter who doesn't follow you back. Both of these kinds of parasocial relationships strengthen the affective sensibility we discussed earlier, making us feel like being an ARMY is more than just being a consumer who buys a product we like. We are invested in our identity as ARMY, and it helps us understand ourselves in the world and motivates us to form communities around our identity. This affective sensibility, of course, is predicated on the idea that we are emotionally invested in more than a product. We are invested in real people with a real, authentic identity, message, and story. We feel like we know BTS is for real because we think we can see their authentic, or backstage, emotions and personalities on various social media platforms. This brings us to another theory that will be helpful for understanding why we love BTS: dramaturgy. But I won't get into all of that here. Instead, I will discuss dramaturgy in part 2 of this mini-series titled Why Are There So Many Solo Stands in Manager Armies? Part 2, Dramaturgy and Parasocial Relationships. If it's not clear from that title, I'll be going over what I think causes solo stands and manager armies using some of the theories discussed here, and this will include some of my own original analysis and theory application. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and follow my social media so you don't miss the second part of this series. Let me know what you thought of the first part of this series in the comments. I'd love to discuss some of these theories and concepts with you all down there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.